broadcasting live out of a basement in Appleton, Wisconsin. You're tuned into Fox Cities Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. We're the show that gives you an opportunity to call in and be a part of the show. Our call-in line is 920-358-0795. Core. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fox Cities Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. If this is your first time tuning in, WCZR is an independent streaming rock station based out of Appleton, Wisconsin. Every Saturday morning, we've got a guest involved in the Fox Cities music scene. And today we've got a special guest. We've also got a special co-host I'd like to welcome back. It's been a couple years, but Jim Collar, he's Greetings. The communications manager for the Fox Cities Experience, which it's going to take a little bit of getting used to saying that, but well,
I'm still slipping.
We're gonna talk about that. Our guest today is WAPL's John Jordan. You might know John. He's been at Woodward for over 20 years. He hosts the Road Show as well as curates the Saturday morning local show on their Home Brewed. John, welcome to Fox Cities Core.
Glad we could finally make this happen.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years, I think, trying to find a time.
Back and forth and schedules and everything. So really great to be here in the basement.
Good to have you. And let's right out of the gate talk about the Home Brewed show. Mm-hmm. Like how did you get involved with the Home Brewed show?
Home Brewed just sort of came to us like this. It's May, so May of 2015, I think was our first show. So going at it for 9 years now. With that, it was just one of those things that WAPL throughout the years has always been, very supportive of local music. We're not a Clear Channel, we're not an iHeart, we're not a that kind of a big conglomerate. We're local, and why not, support your community, especially if you're a music station with music that way. So there have been entities throughout the years on WAPL, homegrown. It was at one point, with the local music that way. We've released different cassette tapes, albums, apple cider kind of stuff throughout the years with different local bands. So we've always been really supportive that way. But around that time, I just had the idea. I think it was an Oktoberfest, and I had just seen the Lately at Oktoberfest, and you're kind of catting around the different stages, seeing some of the local bands, and you're like, these guys are really, really good. Why are you, do you have an outlet for this music? Other people should be hearing this like I'm hearing it. We've got a radio station. We've got 100,000 watts. I've got time. Let's try to, revive, homegrown at the time, but I think there was something weird that way. So we're like Home Brewed. That makes a lot of sense to us. And then, and my partner at the time, Len Nelson, was on, and he was a tremendous resource and host for the show for a number of years, which, and his ties and tethers into the music community, being a musician himself and being in that scene for so long, just really helped, propel the show and give it some, gravitas, I guess, in there. But Home Brewed's been 9 years now, going on a decade, which is really weird to think about.
Is it hard because that adds another level of complexity to your job, because now you're paying attention to the national scene, and you're also you have to go out and see local shows and kind of interact with the music community.
Thankfully, like anything else we play on, being a classic rock station, our playlist is pretty much set. There's not a lot of, curveballs being thrown into the set at any time. We'll play a new one here, a new one there from some established bands that way. We'll play some new Foo Fighters. We've played the new Bon Jovi recently. We played some new Ozzy as it comes out. We play, that kind of stuff we'll tinker with and everything like that. But it's nothing that I have to personally, I just sit behind the mic and like a monkey hit a button, every afternoon for a few hours.
But there's more that goes into it than just that, right? I mean, you're doing so much behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes stuff, prepping for Home Brewed every week. Yeah, absolutely. It's you're communicating with the bands. You're trying to get the music. You try to get you get it in the system and you schedule it and you make sure there's multiple steps to getting a show off there. Plus, you're trying to kind of check. You're kind of trying to check out the music scene because we want people to go out there and see these bands, so you're checking Facebook posts and all kinds of different posts online as you're subscribed to this Twitter account or this Facebook account or this Instagram, and you're seeing who's playing where, and you've got multiple music venues, and thank you to the music venues that are out there that are consistently playing live music and local music, whether it's covers, whether it's original stuff. Live music's live music, and that's as you well know.
Yeah. Well, the show is always well put together, and this isn't something where you can look at the charts and know what you're going to play. How do you curate and assemble one of these programs?
I think it does start mostly with what I have new. What the new music that I get in that's submitted to us. A lot of that you kind of go through, as you said, curate the local music that's sent in, and it's not now it's getting, and it's been this way for a while, but Milwaukee, Eau Claire, Wausau, Madison, around the state that you're getting submissions from, which is great. People are tuning into that. People are listening to the podcast, and that's fantastic. This last year, I don't know what it was, but I think between January and now, I've had upwards of probably 6, like 60 some different, new songs, new bands, being submitted out there. I think it's largely due to everyone's kind of inside during the winter, working on it, writing it, producing it, and everything like that. And then spring is like, blah, here you go, enjoy it. So it's kind of a tough line to balance on, I guess, with. You've got the new music, you want to feature the new music, and then you've got the live music. So there's always this constant, I find myself looking at a playlist when I do it, and I don't just generate a playlist immediately and go, well, that's it. It goes through a lot of iterations, like what song goes here, what song goes here. I want to kind of talk into this one, and this one has, you're just constantly playing with it until you get it set. But you're constantly playing with that. Do I do more live stuff this week because there's a lot of great live bands out there playing, or I've got a ton of new music, so do I do sort of a more new music balanced show? It's always that weird back and forth.
I've got a guilty pleasure when I'd like to download the podcast version of it and see the wave spectrum, and then see which songs are like peaked out and which songs are low.
Yeah, I'm trying to just encourage people now to just be very, very conscious of what they're sending me. I'm steering away from MP3. Give me the waves. Give me something that we can add a little bit to, in processing back.
Do you get a lot of demos? People sending you demos with titles like master or like mixed?
The funny thing is, you'll get you'll get some submissions off the web that it's just like, here's my Spotify, or here's my SoundCloud, or here's my Reverb Nation, or my MySpace, whatever that is. I'm like, well, okay, I can listen to it, but it doesn't really do me any good unless you kind of send me a file and I can, know what it sounds like. It's kind of a really strange. Sometimes I wish wish you could have a band symposium saying, here's how you submit electronic press kit, and then you have these available. And as I'm sure Jim knows too, with festivals and everything like that, dealing with submissions and everything, it comes in all, and then that you just have a back and forth of a conversation like, who are you? You know, tell me who you are, because you'll give me you'll get a Facebook page too. Here's our Facebook link, or here's our Twitter link. And on those, majority wise, it doesn't even tell you the band names of anybody who plays in the band or where you're from, you know, as some of the basic tenets of, you know, why we're talking about you. Hey, this band is from, we're not really sure. But, you know, here's a great song I want more. I want a little more meat.
I'm going to venture to say, like, a lot of the bands probably don't realize this, and they probably think this music is just going to amaze you, and you're going to be like, wow, I'm going to do all this work to find out, like, these guys are awesome. I'm going to, you know, preach to the world. But I think that stuff is, until you do it a couple times, especially on a freshman band.
Yeah.
It's...
Yeah, you're not as known as you think you are sometimes. I guess just because we've got all this social media. Okay, I'm not aware of you. You know, the majority of the audience is probably not aware of you at this point, and that's why we're doing this, to cause awareness, to get people excited about your music, to get your music in those ears out there that are listening every Saturday or listening to the podcast. And man, do the
Facebook likes make do those impress you if you go to somebody's Facebook page and they've got like 20,000 Facebook likes? Or
no, I don't even listen to that. I listen strictly to the music on there, and you know, just on that alone, you know, that's how I kind of determine. And production wise also. And I know it's cool and everything that you can put together an album, you know, in the basement, and your friend at the kitchen table or something is running everything like that. It's great. It's a great outlet for a lot of bands that don't have those means. But I'm saying that if you're really serious about it, find a way to get into a studio.
Well, do you find you've found a place with your audience where, if you like something, you feel it's going to resonate in the show?
In a way that, you know, if I put it on the show, it has, I don't want to say some merit or anything to that effect, but if it sounds good, now we're on it past different people at the station too. Like, what do you think of this song? You know, because maybe it doesn't hit me right away, but there's something there. And you run it past somebody else, and they're like, "Oh, I really dig that." So it's not just John Radio, or you know what I mean. It's, you know, it kind of pops in that, you know, and some stuff I'll sit on for a little while. I'm like, there is something here, but I'm not sure there's a place for it right now. This show is eclectic as it is. I mean, at any Saturday, you're going to get rock, you're going to get some alternative, you're going to get some alt country, you're going to get some pretty close to country, you know, singer-songwriter stuff. You're going to have reggae. You're going to have blues. You're going to have folk. You'll have some bluegrass, some, you know, jam. I mean, it's an eclectic show, and that's the point. That's kind of what I've always wanted with the show, just to have that kind of a broad, you know, it might not be for everybody, but you might run into something that you didn't think you would like, but you actually kind of dig, and you're like, oh, what was that? I really like that. I've never heard that before, or that just kind of appeals. So that's you know, just exposing that music to people is really the point.
Have you had to turn down a lot of submissions, and have you heard feedback from people afterwards, like, why aren't you playing the song I sent you?
I do, and I do keep them around. You know what? It was easier is when I had the stream, the Home Brewed on tap stream, where I could take some of those things that I really didn't have a place for on the proper show on Saturdays, and I could house them and play them and give them some spins, you know, on the Homebrewed stream when we had that. That was a lot easier, and that was a lot easier on my head, because I don't like to turn people down. I'll be completely honest. It's a rough conversation, saying, you know, I just don't have a place for this right now. Maybe we'll find something, or, you know, the vocals aren't, you know, sometimes you get something with vocals and it sounds like they're across the room. You just can't make it out, or it's really, really echoey, and it's just, again, to put it on the air, to put it over 100,000 watts, sort of has to have a certain level of production.
Yeah. You might have somebody tuning into WAPL that doesn't know it's the Home Brewed show, and if you hear something that sounds like it was recorded on a boombox, they can be like, "What station? What is this?"
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Do bands learn from that? I mean, to have that conversation and say this song isn't produced to a level for the radio. Ooh, maybe we should.
I have had bands that have submitted, their basement tapes, basically to me. Not like Traveling Suitcases basement tapes. That's excellent stuff, by the way.
Shots fired.
But no, they're great. I love them. But you hear the basement thing, and you're like, just the sound quality is just not. It's not going to present well. And that's another thought of mine when I get something to that effect. I'm like, this doesn't help the band. It doesn't help them at all, and that's kind of why I'm doing this whole thing, is so I can help them, get some exposure and get their music out there. And this isn't going to help them if I put this product out there for them. But I've had them that, they've come back after they've had maybe a studio session, or they've brought somebody in that knows how to properly mix that all together, or they've gotten some new equipment or whatever it might be, and it's a world of difference, and that and I'm happy when they have that passion for it. That just shows that they're passionate about it. If they think enough about it that they're like, yeah, we should make this better or something. I'm happy. I'm really happy when that happens.
Well, and to be able to be a resource has to feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm doing this, now I'm usually the guy behind, where Andy's sitting right now. I'm the guy, behind the curtain type of thing. I don't like to be forefront. I like to take that spotlight and, shine it on those artists that, I want to give them exposure for, what they're doing. And there's so many good, bands, as you well know around this. And there's the scene that we have. This is not everywhere. This is not a everywhere kind of thing at all. With the amount of music that comes out of this area, this state, to be honest, and the quality that's coming out of here. You've got some stellar studios around here that do, I'll give it up. Mark Goldie at Rock Garden Studio, man. I mean, if there's an epicenter of music in the Fox Valley, Rock Garden Studio, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he's coming off a three whammy win week. Which, congrats to Mark.
That was really gratifying to see. Also, seeing Kurt Gunn, good album of the year for Winter. Long overdue for Kurt. I mean, he is one of the most prolific songwriters that we have in this area, state, region, whatever.
You mentioned the Traveling Suitcase. Great band, putting out consistent, great music. And we were talking before the show about the Redshift Headlights, the new single from them coming out. And that's going to be big. I think that's...
Yep. I agree. That's we're gonna have that on. We're gonna premiere that this coming up Saturday, the 1st, June the 1st. I've been talking back and forth with Steve about it and about their their sessions that they had. It'll all come out to, there's a bittersweet story behind that, but that's kind of for them to tell on that. But I'm very excited. That's the best part of this job, is when you get that new music in from the bands, some of these established bands that just keep continuously putting out some great music, but then you get something new, and it's so exciting again to, get to play it. I honestly feel honored to be able to, get that out there to people and bring that to people.
Besides the bands we talked about, I mean, you mentioned Kurt Gunn. There's like so many different pockets of scenes. With Kurt, you've got like Michael Grabner, Jackson Mankowski. Tom Thiel kind of is in a couple different genre buckets around here. But
Brad Bordini's coming onto the scene that way, in the that sort of singer-songwriter genre, and it's kind of cool to see different areas have different specialities. You've got Oshkosh is a rock.
Oh my God.
It's Kosh rock. That's Oshkosh always, brings rock to it. We've got a certain singer-songwriter Americana vibe here. In the valley, you go to Green Bay.
Green Bay is loaded as well.
Right.
Like Sweet Talk. Trash Pandas.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. All those bands are, those guys rock too. And then, you've got Madison's a little more maybe Americana, alt country-ish in a way with, bands like the Mascot Theory, down there, Beth Killy, and, just a ton of, but it's fun to listen to Eau Claire and La Crosse, you get, bands like them, Cooley Boys, and coming out of there. And so each scene is different, which is great.
And it's amazing how interconnected it is, because somebody might be in 3 or 4 bands.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah,
Kurt Gunn is one of those guys.
Oh my
Tom
God.
Field.
Oh, Tommy. Yeah.
Tommy T.
Tommy T, man. Tommy T is your gun for hire. He's got his own band going on. He's in, Kurt's band too. Kurt's, you get, and that's another new one I'm looking forward to. 2 new ones. Don't settle with one Kurt. Put out 2 albums. Why not? What is it? North Facing and South Facing. He's got the kind of acoustic, a little more laid back album. The South Facing, and then I think it's North Facing is more the plugged in electric version of the band.
I think we're all waiting for just one of them to blow open on a national stage.
Yeah.
I think Corey was close.
Yep.
And he's still,
he's still
kind of there, but I'm waiting for someone on the Nirvana level to blow up and just, really put Appleton in the...
Right. Well, we were talking about, Redshift Headlights before when it was the Willis, and they were on Jimmy Fallon playing the Jimmy Fallon song, very meta. As it was, that's it. I've seen Waldemar from Western Wisconsin. They've been on CBS Saturday mornings on the Saturday sessions. They've been out there representing great for Wisconsin. They're a fantastic band too.
I don't want to forget Matty Day, the Wishbone Breakers. There's a ton of them.
Well, that's the other crew there. With Amos and Julia and Tenement and Dusk and all those guys. That's another scene unto themselves. Yeah. They're fantastic. I always look forward to brand new music from any entity, coming out of there too.
We had the question from Bob Minter. He wants to know if you did you place a down payment on the Weinermobile?
I did not. They didn't let me drive it for some odd reason. I don't know if I didn't seem trustworthy on that. They said, just pictures outside, please. We had it visit our studios yesterday. Nice. So it was pretty cool.
So besides the Weinermobile, working at WAPL, there is a lot of cool stuff like that happening. You're getting people that are performing at the Skyline, coming through. What's one of the coolest experiences you've had so far with somebody coming into the studio?
Oh, God. We get a lot of comics. We get a lot of great comics that play at Skyline that are. Ron Funches was just here. He was a gem of a human being. Great guy. You get a lot of the baby bands, a lot of baby national bands that come on our Razor 94.7, 104.7 signal, coming in and just doing something before the shows. That'll usually are at Epic. They'll come down and do something in the studio. We're playing with an idea of having when this band is in, then we could go to this place and enjoy or have different listeners join in and have kind of a little private session, listening session with a band. So that's in the works. We've got a new production studio, video production studio, that we converted one of the back rooms in our station to, that we can do some interviews and things like that with these, baby bands that come in, and they appreciate it too. Just the airtime, and B, the exposure that they get with the interviews. That you can post out there and get out there, because that's a genre that needs exposure. That's a genre that the new metal and as that comes up, that's a relatively, I don't know, faceless kind of
Got a moth down here just flying around.
Does he have a question also? I don't know. Mr. Moth?
Well, yeah, you guys did during Mile a couple years, you did things live from the garage.
Yeah, we brought that back last year. Garage is great.
I love that, and people could come and watch too, right? So I think I saw Norland and maybe Leading the Blind a while back, and that was fun.
A lot of the local bands that are playing Mile Music are usually earlier on in the week because they're available, and they're not, a lot of the other bands that are from out of state are driving in at that point, later on in the week, and then they can, pull their buses in, and that's a fun week of radio, that's for sure. Just to have those bands, who's that? Patty Pershala. Was in this last year. We had a ton of guys that were in this last year that I went to see, afterwards. Usually I can see them there. It's like, oh, I have my private show in and everything like that and everything. But they're so good that you just want to see them again and again and again at the festival. So, a lot of those little interactions are nice. I don't necessarily, I'm not starstruck normally. By people that come in the studio. We'll get, anyone from, comedians to bands to actors to wrestlers, all those. Some people like Chris Jericho are all of those wrapped into one entity when you get them on. And I haven't had a bad experience with any of them. They're just normal people if you're just cool with them. Yeah.
Had a question here from Jerry. It says, question for John. If you could pick one band, new or old band, from the Fox Cities, which artist or band do you feel could or should make it on the national stage?
Oh, wow. That could make it on a national stage. There's so many artists that can make it on a national stage. I mean, you've got somebody like Amelia Ford, who's come through, relatively recently, and has been, just a standout with her music. I would, people like, like a Dusk. Dusk is great. Dusk, I think, appeals to a lot of different, sounds and genres, in their music. Chris Gold and the New Old Things. I mean, you can't tell me that doesn't work on a national level. It's just you wish you could project them, out there so that everybody can, hear them. I'm not sure I could even break it down to one. That's kind of like I have a weird relationship with, I guess, award shows and awards, and I'm not dumping on any of the whammies or anything else, but I don't think music in itself is a competition.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I don't think you win at music. I think music's out there for everybody. I don't think it's something to be judged necessarily, as in most art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just have a strange, it's nice to be, nominated and put, a little focus on during the ceremony and everything. But largely, I think award shows are kind of more publicity for the award shows themselves. And who's to say that song's better than that song, or that art is more, arty than that piece of art or anything like that. So I've always had a weird, Oscars, Tonys, Grammys, all that other stuff. I've always kind of felt like who's to judge? You let the people judge, but not vote.
Well, and that's where you can get into the weeds because, like let's use the Whammies, for example, you've got the People's Choice Awards. You've got the Fox Cities is a smaller market than Milwaukee or Madison. Correct. So it is tough because, like you said, it ends up being judgy. But what else do you do then? I mean,
there's no way to do it where it's not a popularity contest.
Correct. Yeah, and if it comes down to who can rally the most people to vote for them, is it about the music anymore at that point?
And if you do it where it's the insiders, it's still who's popular among them.
Correct. Yes, very, very, very well put. Yeah, and so, I would put them all out on a big stage for everybody to enjoy and to get, because you're not gonna that this person might not like that band, but they love this band over here, and that's Home Brewed every week. You might not like that band, but man, I like that band a lot.
And Jim, let's put the pressure on Jim for a bit.
Here we go.
There's a big announcement that came out a couple weeks ago. The Electric City Experience is now the Fox Cities Experience. What caused the change from Kaukauna to Neenah?
Well, the ultimate issues that made us decide to move to Menasha's Jefferson Park on June 6th through 8th. It's a bit complicated to break down quickly, but to put it short, it just started with the fact that this is a very difficult time to do festivals with inflation. Our costs have gone up, and the many fine people who sponsor us, they're facing rising costs, and when it's time to make some cuts, it's very easy to cut out the music festival as opposed to, say, an employee. We get it. It's tough for everybody, and we needed to find what we could do to continue to put on something that's important for a lot of people. And ultimately, it came down to working with folks in Kaukauna, and at a point it became we needed to move. We needed to make some clear movement to get a festival going. These things don't happen overnight, and it was moving quite slowly, and we found a solution in Menasha, and it's an absolutely beautiful venue, and it reached a point where we could have done either. We decided to go with Menasha because we think for the long-term sustainability of the festival, we're in a better position there. It's more centrally located in the Fox Valley. By going with Fox Cities Experience for branding as opposed to a very Kaukauna-centric branding, we think that opens up sponsorship possibilities across our entire region instead of over just one community. And fundraising has been difficult for several years now. It's not just we ran into a wall this year. It's been tougher and tougher by the year, and we think this will open up the gates a little bit more, give us a wider area to pursue sponsors from, and the venue is going to be absolutely gorgeous. They are redoing Jefferson Park right now, and it's going to be a next generation park with all kinds of amenities that people don't see. Just even this year, while the park is under construction, to be able to have a pavilion for people to go take their food from the food trucks and go eat, and a big, beautiful, brand new playground for the kids to play on. So it's not just carnival rides or live music. It's going to keep people on the grounds longer. People are going to come and have a great time. That's all great stuff. Love it. Have you been digesting all of the hate coming from the Kaukauna population? Like, how's that? There's a lot of people that seem mad or upset that it's moving out of Kaukauna, but they are. And in some sense, I hate to put it this way, but you can take that as a compliment in the fact that we were able to put together an event that the community held on to as a civic celebration, and that was important to so many people. We knew that this was going to hurt some feelings, and that people were going to be sad, and that people were going to be angry, and we get that, and we feel sorry about that. At the end of the day, though, our festival is it's not a publicly held event. We're a private business that had to make a business decision in our best interest, and ultimately we did that. And I hope you come out and give us a chance.
And you announced some of the bands already. I don't think the full schedule is out yet, is
No,
it?
the full schedule is, we have pretty much who's going to be playing. It's just putting the puzzle together, and you can expect to see a full schedule on our Facebook page in a matter of days.
Do you want to drop any of the artists?
Well, the big ones, we got Cool Waters Band playing on Saturday night. We're really excited about that. That's going to be their first time on one of our stages. Fox Menagerie is going to be playing.
They're great.
Yeah, they're great. We got A-Town Unplugged. They're always
solid.
One of our, yeah.
Well, you get like 4 bands right there, you know. You get Leading the Blind, A-Town Unplugged. You get,
I mean, from 7 to 11 on Saturday night, just get to the beer tent, get to the tent, and just enjoy. It's going to be awesome.
Throw Krieger up there by himself, you know, do whatever.
Is the setup going to be the same, or there's going to be a few white tents set up, and then
absolutely we're going to have 3 tents with music in there, and the tents are always an important thing to point out. Rain or shine, we're going to have a great time and great music, so don't worry about the clouds. Hop in the car and come over. Then if you've been to Electric City Experience, this is a very similar experience that we're picking up and moving to a town a couple miles over.
How about number of artists and sets comparatively from one to the other?
We've had to cut back. I mean, that's part of the fundraising challenges we've had. We had in recent years had as many as 5 stages. Mm-hmm. We're doing 3 this year, but ultimately we've got 3 stages loaded with the best talent you're going to find.
Right,
around. It's going to be solid. From the time you get to the event till the time you leave. So with the quality of artists we have in those 3 tents, it's I don't think it's going to impact the quality of the experience for those folks coming in with the fact that it's going to be a little bit smaller this year.
Very good. Yeah.
I'm excited. I feel the Fox Cities, not only do we have a ton of bands, we have a lot of great festivals. Fox Cities Experience, Mile of Music. I'm going to forget a ton of them, but there are a lot. Oktoberfest, which WAPL has stage 1.
We're on the big stage. That's the whole Woodward community media group is down there on different stages. You know, you'll have a Kiss FM and a Fuse stage. You'll have a Score stage, you'll have an HBY stage, APL stage, Razor stage. So, you know, that's kind of, but it's such a great thing with the community. It's such a fantastic day. When the weather hits on that day, man, there's nothing better. You know, people out there just having a great time with, you know, music and food and getting together and hanging out. And, you know, that's what it's about, bringing everybody together and, you know, let the music do that.
You grew up in Amro, is that correct?
Yeah, just a little west of Oshkosh.
When did you get the inkling to get into radio? Was that something you wanted to do?
Like the music stuff? I've always been a fan of music. Probably college at Stevens Point was more I got into. Actually, I produced a music video show, like the first music video show there. So you get those big, like 3/4 inch, you know, tapes from, you know, whether it was Warner Brothers or Geffen, or, you know, had a, you know, report to College Music Journal of who you're spinning and everything to that effect. And then, you know, that was more the visual, like we're, you know, doing now type of a situation. So you produce, you host, you do the whole, you know.
Do you have some of those videos yet?
Thank God, no. Thank God, no.
Those would be good up on the WAPL
Oh my
site.
God, yeah. No, my friends, like a bunch of my college roommates and I, always kind of wax rhapsodically about, like, oh God, I wish we had the Halloween episode, and I hope we had, you know, the just ridiculous stuff. And it was basically us in a studio playing music videos that our dumb friends that are at a house party are calling in for, like, hey, play Ween, Push a Little Daisies, or play whatever it was at that time, just dumb stuff that we gravitated towards at that point. No format, It was great, though. It was very, very fun to do. But I never did radio in college. I ended up at WAPL just in the creative department, as most people that get on air start in the creative department, writing ads, producing ads, voicing ads, doing all this other stuff, and then kind of made my way on to 105.7.
When was when was the year that you did your first on-air show?
Oh, God. I think that would have been... I would jump on with, at that time, Rick and Len, here and there, just to, I don't know, add something to the show, whatever it was. I would produce a bunch of, like, little dumb parody ads and parody stuff, that, they would write or I would write for them, and I would, do some of that stuff and contribute to the show, again, behind the scenes. That's all I wanted to do at that point. Probably when I jumped back on with Rick, which would have been like 96, 97, when I jumped on the morning show. So it was Rick, myself, and Jesse at that point with the morning show. And then, for 3 years or so, 3.5 years, we did that until we got blown out.
How was that process for you, finding your voice and growing into who you wanted to be on air?
Still in process right now. I think I was always part of a team show, as it was. You always had co-hosts, so you had people to bounce things off, like we're talking here and everything like that. And it wasn't up until this last, through COVID, at the end of COVID, where it was just like, well, there you go. Yeah, fly by yourself. And you're like, oh, okay, this is totally different than what I've been doing for the last, 17 years on air. So then you sort of try to find your way again. You try to find your voice, and you try to become more conversational to listeners, as a one-on-one with them, rather than in the studio session where people are listening to your conversation. Now you're generating the conversation to, the listener, and trying to establish that line of communication with it. So it's still an ongoing process, really, just to try to find your voice and see what works or what doesn't work or what feels right. Sometimes, and we're going through, every time you get really comfortable with something in radio, it changes, it's, they throw something different at you. Like, we're going through a complete studio overhaul for the first time, and I can't tell you how long, like 90s, I want to say, is the last time we did anything significant in our studio. So it's been a long time coming. It's been kind of patchworked, in that studio to make it work and everything. But now we've just blown everything out of there. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm excited about it. So we're right now, currently, last few weeks, we've been in one of our back studios that they actually rehabbed with a brand new board. And they've done a remarkable job just clearing out the old studio. When you see the studio that you've been sitting in for, 17, years or so at that point, 20 years on the air, you've seen that studio, and then you see an open room. Like, there's nothing in there. It's weird, man. It is so strange. It is so strange. And then you see, like, new paint gets put on, and you get a new carpeting, and you're like, okay, this is really going well. And then, a new console comes in, and then we've got the same board we're working with in the auxiliary studio that we'll be working with in the main studio when that gets done. And so now it's like you go from sort of a analogish board to a digital board. So that's new, and it's fun. It's fun. It's frightening, but you kind of move beyond that and evolve.
You're constantly finding material for your show, like news stories. How much time does that take up preparing for a daily show?
That's the balance, you try to prep like a home brewed show, that's an ongoing process during the week, and then you try to find time in the afternoon to find a story, read a story. How can I present this story on the air? Does this fit? My show's like this weird. It's almost like a weird news report that, I've got certain segments that I can present stories as, when animals attack kind of stories, just travel nightmare, and I add different elements to it too. So it's not, the same show. I try to find different fast food fail, because there's always a story about someone going crazy at a fast food place. There's always a story about travel nightmares and planes and everything like that. There's always stories about just stupid people, there's a bad cop here or there, or whatever it is, you just have those 911 call segments, and there's a whole.
So apparently management doesn't keep too close a look at your browser history.
No, not at all. Like I'd like to think our IT guys must look at my search histories and just wonder what are you doing? What are you researching? What is this? And I think, but it's a fun process. Then you try to find, some audio for the stories to kind of enhance them a little bit. You try to find maybe a news report from a local station on that story and get a clip of, the dude on the street who saw it happen, because those are always the best, and so it's a constant. It's never the same thing twice.
Well, and amazing to think you couldn't even do a show like that maybe 15, 20 years ago.
No, not really. Not without like a concerted effort. Like the technology has evolved to a point where we can, I can trigger audio over here. I can hit a drop over here. I'm always like this doing the show, with everything. But that's technology, especially like internet, where you can go out there and seek it out and try to find it, and you're like, oh my god, there's a 911 call for this thing, and you find it, and you can then you grab it from there and present it on the air, and then the story takes new life at that point. I can explain it as well as good as I can, but when it comes down to it and you hear the actual 911 call, or you hear these guys, I mean, it enhances it and kind of brings it to there. But, it's not, it's not a work of art. I'll be honest with you there, man. It's kind of pasted together every day. But it's a living, as they say, right?
Have you had any issues with the hot mic where you didn't realize the mic was on and maybe something went over the air?
Oh,
that's got to be like a fear, unless there's
it is always a fear. You're always kind of looking down, just making sure that you're, red button not on, that way, always bring them down. If nothing else, if it's still on and it's down, okay, you're fine. I haven't had one of those situations, I don't think, in a long time, like a hot mic kind of a situation. Occasionally you get, I think Morning Show deals with it more than I do, with, language and type things, or, maybe a caller that doesn't. We had one this year during the international incident. So, and I'm home. I wasn't on it this year. I'm home on the board, and I'm just kind of and then the bomb drops, and you're like, okay. I'm reaching over towards the dump button, like, oh, I gotta dump that. Please don't go over the air. But every once in a while, yeah.
Is there a time where like a guest has become unruly, as far as somebody in the studio doing maybe a average promotion for a Skyline show or wherever?
I haven't run into that at all. There've probably been a handful of comics that, just because of their schedule and just because it's early in the morning, they're not terribly fresh, or they're still drunk.
TJ Miller is always a good one to listen to.
TJ's great. I mean, you're kind of playing with fire, in a lot of situations with the comics in the morning.
Well, I know he had a peanut butter or something you brought in last time.
It's delicious. I have it in my cabinet right now still. There's always some weird angle, man. Those guys, Skyline has provided us with just a bevy of entertainment and show content throughout the years, even the years I worked there. That was, I'm bringing comics in, to the station or to the studios, and that was a weird experience. You leave a place, and now you're coming back into the same place.
So how long did you work at the Skyline for?
Skyline was about 3 years, I think, between when we were let go at APL and when I came back to work on Razor. When we put that on the air. So I don't know. I just keep coming back. I don't know. I just keep the boomerang. I think we have a term, in house called boomerang employees. So I'm like a 2-time boomerang employee. I left after I was in creative services, came back to work on the morning show, got blown out of there, came back to work then on Razor, and haven't left since, 2007. So, yeah.
I think people get kind of in the habit of hearing your voice, and especially, you're on 3 to 6, right? So they're driving home from work, turn on WAPL, hear John.
That's me.
All of a sudden you're gone, and that's like a big part, or maybe you're taking a day off or something, and it's a big part of a person's day hearing you as, they're driving or they're at home tuning in or whatever. I mean, how does it feel to be such a part of people's lives? I'm sure people come up to you all the time and tell you, the first time they heard you. Or
here and there, I'll get that. It's not like, it's radio, so they don't recognize, this thing, thank God. They'll hear a voice and you're like, where do you, and then you kind of go, I do 3 to 6 on W. Oh, that's how I know you, or whatever it is, and everything like that. And I love that part of that. If they remember parts of the show, it's great. That's like, oh, you were listening then too. All right, that's great. Sorry, your kids were in the car, but hope you enjoyed that. Every once in a while. But again, I think I like the radio medium just because it is a little bit anonymous, as can be. Because I'm not a face front type of person.
Did you used to do a movie podcast?
We did. Elwood and I, my co-host on the air, and I just decided to do this just podcast. When a podcast were first sort of starting to, gain a little ground, or, people were doing podcast. Hey, let's try this thing. And, you'd talk and you'd get a few movies, you'd figure a theme, and then we'd just talk about movies. I think that's a lot of the podcasts are about. You find a theme and you just talk about it. And people who have that similar interest hopefully find you and hopefully enjoy what you're talking about, or they comment back and say, oh no, I've got this movie. This movie's great. Or, oh, that movie's awesome. Or I hate that movie. Or it's opinions, you're just generating and sparking a conversation between people. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's, maybe one of the best things about, radio and what we do is keeping those communication lines open, between people. Otherwise, people tend to get a little too isolated in their worlds, and that's not good, as I think everyone knows.
So besides music, when you're not doing music, would movies, comics, you've got to have hobbies besides radio. Yeah,
I'm a self-professed comic book geek. I've collected for, how old am I now? Oh, God. For let's say 40 some years. I've collected comic books. So, and that, that's another thing that's changed, significantly, not just the price, but, just the exposure of comic. I mean, look at billions of dollars of box office that you never thought the little book you're reading is going to generate. Do
you have them all categorized at your place?
Yeah. That's part of being a serious collector. You've got them bagged and boarded and sorted by title and number, and that's part of the love of that, is that meticulous, preoccupation with what it is as a hobby, I think. And that's the escapism too of it. There are times where I'll just, I'll grab a box and I'll just start looking through a box of it just to clear your head. Those are some of my, just to get away from whatever other noise there is and just keep looking through it. And it's something you love. It's something you grew up with. And, comic books as a medium, you've got great writing, you've got incredible art. And, if you're a movie fan, they read like a movie. So you've got all these things coalescing into just one medium that you can hold in your hand. Still, I'm a physical media guy. I prefer, as albums are coming back, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. I'm sure CDs and cassettes are right behind it because now we like to hold things in our hands and actually possess them.
Do you have a vinyl collection?
I do. It's probably a couple hundred. And it's a lot of the stuff that we used to have in the APL archives. So if you heard Stairway back in the day, I've got that album that you probably heard. That you probably heard First Rush. I've got that album. We had a vinyl sale. I don't know. I didn't know if you were there at some point. We had a vinyl sale.
I wish I was.
For United Way, and we were cleaning out our big archive upstairs, and we had these very nice units that we used to pull them out and write your I played this at this time and type of thing, and you put them back in there, and we ended up selling all of our stand-ups. Chris Gold bought a couple of them.
I would assume Amos Pitch was probably there.
Amos, I can't remember if Amos was there or not necessarily, but man, they were there early when they knew we were doing it. Wow, but we made a great chunk of money for the United Way, which was the point of it. We kept some albums, off to the side, like I said, the ones that are kind of
collectible, super collectible.
Yeah, they're in horrible shape. They're in awful shape because you had DJs just putting them back, and we didn't have them in like sleeves or collectible or anything to keep them nice. And there's the tags on them where where you wrote, I played Stairway at this time and here's my name, where they used to track that stuff, so you could report it in to that. But I've got a bunch of those albums, and those are kind of cool to me.
Those are way more cool than something you're going to go buy at Best Buy because there's a story behind them.
There's absolute story. There's people that worked, throughout the almost 50 years of WAPL that touched those, held those. The people out there that heard that song at that time that was played on that album. It's again, they're not in great shape in any way, shape, or form, but that story behind them and that kind of legacy that they have, that's really what's great about having those
you
things.
You can go to Spotify and hear the song, but to have that copy.
You could go get that same album on a 180 gram blue vinyl pressing of whatever it is. Give me that one. Give me the old one, man. That's got some life to it.
So the scene musically is thriving in Appleton.
Yeah.
We've got some cool things happening into the music interview show. We've got Amos Pitch's record store. I don't know if you've been there yet.
Upstairs of the VFW.
Yep.
I have not been there yet. I ran into Amos and Julia at a coffee shop, and they had mentioned that. Excuse me. They had mentioned that to me a long time ago, and that's very cool.
Yeah, I think he hit up. I helped him move a copy machine upstairs, so I got to see it. But he got a lot of stuff from the Lawrence radio station, so he's got all their shelving and a lot of their records, and it's a cool place. I'd like to get in there again and check it out now that he's kind of up and running. But what's up for you next? Are you gonna have any special surprises coming up on Home Brewed or on the Going Home show?
I think the 3 to 6 show, the weekday show, I think that's kind of self-sustaining at this point. Again, you add a little bit into it. You vary it up a tinge just to keep it fresh. I'm working on maybe a little bit of the music that we play in the afternoon. We're kind of playing with something a little different than the rest of the day. with Home Brewed, there's a lot I'd like to do with it, but I have an hour.
Yeah.
I
got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, I've got an hour on, Saturday to do this. I'd like to do an interview show, but guys like you and Daryl and they do it much better than I would be able to. So leave that one to the professionals.
Different audiences, probably.
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't mind doing interviews at all, but it's difficult to, again, squeeze into an hour. You're cutting out music that I want to get to people's ears with that. So I would rather just kind of stick to the music, stick to what we're doing, and do that well.
Well, you can hear John on WAPL from 3 to 6 during the weekdays, and then you can hear Home Brewed show Saturday mornings from 9 to 10. Great show, and if you're looking for shows to see in Appleton or the area, John normally curates artists that are playing around here.
Yeah.
And of course, new releases, you can hear the new Redshift Headlights next week, which is
absolutely looking very forward to bringing that one out.
Yeah, I know the kids say banger. The song's a banger.
I'll agree with the kids. I'll agree with the kids. Absolutely.
Jim, thank you for coming by and co-hosting today. The Fox Cities experience is
June 6th through 8th, Jefferson Park and Menasha, and my pleasure. Love being here.
Must-see staple of the summer for sure.
Absolutely. Great way to start your live music summer.
And of course, hope you guys come back again soon, but we've got a question that sneaked in here.
Oh, sure.
Todd Balke.
Hey!
What's the most exciting thing a band can put energy into? Strictly new music, physical media, music videos, weird merch?
Ooh.
Good question, Todd.
I think it all starts with their music. I really think it all starts with their music. Put the effort into the music, and I think a lot of that other stuff will follow. Just put out a good product, something that you're proud of. When you put it out, that you're like, yeah, we did our best. This is really, we're proud of this. Whatever it might be, song or album, whatever it might be, EP. We're really proud of this. If you have that feeling at the end of it when you're listening to it, it's really all that matters.
Todd's another one of those guys that is in a bunch of bands. He's in the Traveling Suitcase, North Wind in the Sun, the Walt Hamburger project.
Yeah.
He's in Rival Siblings or something. Actual Siblings. Whew. Thanks for the question. Tyler Tolman, he has a question too. Oh, I don't have a question today. Just wanted to thank John for putting local artists on the radio. So that's
my
really
pleasure.
Nice.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you, Tyler. And Tyler's been a guest on the show before, and it's great.
Yeah.
Again, appreciate all you both do for the community scene in this area. It's pretty cool, and we do have a thriving scene, something that shouldn't be taken for granted. And it's
so great here. We have it so great here, and we are so blessed to have the enormous musical talent that we have in this area. It, again, like you said, not to be taken for granted.
Any parting last words?
No, thank you for doing this. This is a long time coming, so I was really happy we could make this happen this weekend.